V-22 Osprey. Part helicopter, part plane. They are headed for Al-Assad, Iraq.
Your transition across the Gulf is approved. Landing at Skid Row via pilot's on wrist, winds 2804.
It's a sprawling airfield, bigger than many American towns, the second largest military base in the war zone. Al-Assad is known most recently as the hot spot of Iraq. The area has seen some of the most brutal combat of the war against Saddam Hussein and Al-Qaeda. It's the new headquarters for a U.S. Marine Corps Assault Support Squadron, VMM 263. Coming from its home base in North Carolina, the unit is made up of 250 men and women, flying and supporting 10 Osprey V-22 aircraft. The Osprey could become a superstar of modern aviation. It's able to take off and land like a helicopter in the roughest terrain, fly at the speed of a plane, and climb to more than 25,000 feet, refuel in midair, and fly vast distances. Lieutenant Colonel Paul Joseph Rock, Jr. is the commander of the squadron. The Osprey's arrival here is a personal milestone. He has been a Marine Corps pilot since 1990 and remembers a time when the Osprey was little more than a dream.
And for a long time, the V-22 was probably categorized as an urban myth. It was out there somewhere, somebody was working on it. You knew somebody who had seen one once. Seeing it was like seeing Elvis or Bigfoot.
Rock started as a test pilot for the Osprey in 1997 and has been flying it ever since. He thinks the Osprey is made to order for the war in Iraq.
From the standpoint of taking it to the bad guy, you got a lot more options.
On her second deployment to Iraq, Captain Elizabeth Akaraba first flew helicopters in combat in 2004 and understands the challenges of the battlefront.
I think the V-22 has fit into just about any and every mission that's out here.
This is an aircraft, could take off vertically, fly 8 hours, and land pretty much anywhere. You don't need a 10,000-foot runway or whatever. If you need to land in the middle of a soccer stadium, or you need to land within the confines of an embassy compound, or you need to land right outside some bad guy's house because you're doing a hit where the grunts are going to go get them. I mean, that is what it really brings. I mean, it's a whole lot more flexibility in moving combat power around.
Captain Sarah Fabersoff is another pilot with the squadron who will be flying the V-22.
It's new technology, a completely new technology. You're going from a helicopter and turning it into an airplane. And it is a transformer like you see in the movie.
The big question the squadron faces: can the Osprey prove itself in the reality of warfare? Among the most expensive aircraft of its type ever invented, the Osprey cost more than $20 billion to develop. The price tag for 458 of them, more than $50 billion. But there's much more at stake than just money. The evolution of the Osprey also has been written in blood. 30 men died in notorious crashes of the Osprey in the 2 decades it took to develop. Can the Osprey escape its dark past? What has been called the world's riskiest plane has come to Iraq, perhaps the world's riskiest place to find that out.
When you're trying to advance, when you're trying to do something revolutionary and bring a tremendous capability like that, it's not without pitfalls and risks. Yeah, this is an aircraft that's had an extended developmental history, and it is a revolutionary technology, and it's different, and it scares people.
The squadron's assistant operations officer, Major Wes Spade, is on his second tour in Iraq. The Ospreys have been at the Al-Assad base for 4 weeks, and Spade is coordinating plans to take infantry troops into combat. but he has to face concerns the ground forces have about the aircraft.
We realize this is a new platform. This is a new capability. There will be some growing pains. There will be some some anxieties. The nacelles will always be up, right? So we want to make everyone aware of the capability, but we're not certainly don't want to force it on anyone.
So Spade must tackle things one step at a time.
We wanted to get daily operations in and around our base and the airfield. That was our first priority. And the best way to do that is just provide general support to Marine sailors, soldiers, basic logistics movement, movement of personnel and gear from one forward operating base to another, airfields in and around from our home base at Al-Assad all the way to the furthest reaches of Iraq out to the west, and then into areas like Baghdad. Certainly we've shown to be very capable of doing that.
But despite these achievements, there is still a reluctance to actually send the Osprey on a tactical mission.
It's just that we don't have our established role yet.
We knew coming in, we could think we're going to do certain things, and we prepared to do certain things, but you never really know what exactly you're going to do until people start asking you to use it. The job is find out, because you support the infantry, the ground combat element, what do they want? How do you get them what they want?
The most difficult thing about being an Osprey pilot or in the Osprey community is having to reestablish ourselves, to fight just to be accepted as a part of the team is very difficult. We want to help the mission, we want to save lives, we want to fight the good fight, but we have to get through the established norms. We have to help people see us as not outside the paradigm, but perhaps a better portion of a new paradigm.
The commanders and pilots know they have a great opportunity here to prove the Osprey and its capabilities. But they also know that the stakes are high. A failure now could doom the aircraft's future. A Marine Corps aviation squadron is putting the world's newest aircraft to the ultimate test in the brutal sands of Iraq. The squadron, with the improbable call sign of the Thunder Chickens, comes with a vibrant history that explains its name. First activated as a Marine transport unit in 1952, the squadron gained fame in Vietnam, flying the legendary double-rotor helicopters called Sea-Knight CH-46s, or frogs, that became a symbol of that war. Known at first as the more regal Thunder Eagles, the squadron became the Thunder Chickens when there was no word in the Vietnamese language for eagles. So chickens they became, and chickens they remain. In 2005, the Marines began to phase out the frogs. The old squadron was shut down and relaunched in 2006 for the Ospreys, a new unit dedicated to a new aircraft.
There's something called a plank owner, which is a tradition in both the Navy and Marine Corps, that if you are part of a new squadron or a new unit standing up, you're called a plank owner. And if you look at all the Marines here at VMM 263, we're all plank owners, meaning we started the squadron together as VMM 263.
And the squadron sergeant major says they knew what they were getting into.
The time and service of the majority of Marines in my squadron are post 9/11. They joined the United States Marine Corps knowing that the odds was in the favor of them coming to Iraq or Afghanistan.
The leader of the maintenance crew has 3 decades as a Marine, but many on his team were not even born when the Osprey was first tested. Yet they are helping to keep aircraft that cost $70 million each in the sky.
The board that shows the status of the aircraft and maintenance control, a lot of people, they walk out at night and there's, we have 10 aircraft and there's 4 or 5 red arrows, meaning down aircraft that can't fly. And they walk in the next morning and there's 10 green or blue arrows, means they can fly. And to them, it's just a magic transformation. They forget that there's, 80 or 90 human beings out there, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, whether it's raining, whether they have a hangar, whether or not, those planes are going to get fixed that night. And those are those 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds out there that they're out there fixing an aircraft that you're going to put 24 Marines in and fly them into a hot LZ.
They may be young, but they're not just maintenance men. They've actually made changes in how the aircraft is put together.
And when we got this, there was a lot of things that they actually took our word for it, looked at it, evaluated it, and changed it. And they started seeing the logic of it and why we came up with those ideas. To actually realize that something you saw that you were like, hey, that could be better, and you say that and they actually do it. Some of that actually, it turned out pretty cool.
My father's exact words is that I'll be a part of history. I'll be able to work on something that's going to revolutionize the Marine Corps and the way we do things.
It's a job they take very seriously.
A lot of us sit there and joke that every time one of these birds go up, it's running off of our own blood, sweat, and tears, and that's exactly how it is. We've been on it, for most of us, for quite a few years, and we worked on it so hard that this is our family, and these are our children, and it was probably the proudest moment of my life seeing it land on this flight line out here in Iraq.
But these youngsters also have some high-powered veterans they can turn to. Jerry Greer and John Allen are two of the 14 engineers and mechanics assigned to the squadron from the company that invented, devised, and manufactured the Osprey.
With a chance to take a new aircraft into combat for the first time and to prove what this aircraft can do was something I didn't want to miss. Everybody always jokes that Jerry invented the V-22. He's been around it since '88.
And Jerry is still excited about the Osprey.
It's got stuff in it that's never been done on any other aircraft.
I don't know, I think it's pretty cool. It's definitely different. I mean, just even coming here, people see the airplane and they just do not know what they're looking at. So yeah, the gee-whiz factor is fairly high.
By design, the Osprey lives up to its reputation as both a helicopter and a plane. What are rotors on takeoff become airplane props in the air.
Basically, is it an airplane, is it a helicopter? It is both and neither.
In fact, the Osprey has incorporated some of the best attributes of both helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft. Its greatest strength is speed, which is more like an airplane's than a helicopter's. While the world's fastest helicopter has reached a speed of 249 miles per hour, the Osprey can top it at 360 miles per hour, with a cruising speed of 317. Like a first-class race car, the Osprey's horsepower is awesome. Each of its two engines puts out 6,100 horsepower, almost double the power of most helicopters. Another advantage, the Osprey can fly more than 1,000 miles without refueling. In combat, that means the Osprey can safely fly a radius of 430 miles from its base. For the commanding general of Al-Assad, that puts his entire region within reach.
It opens greater options for you from, say, Al-Assad and cover the entire battle space in 30 minutes.
The Osprey can reach heights unimagined in the best helicopters, up to 26,000 feet, and it can get to that ceiling at almost 12 meters per second. The Osprey's speed and altitude make it a difficult, elusive target, with flares that increase its survivability against heat-seeking missiles. It's also manufactured with carbon fiber, a futuristic, high-tech layered material that is as strong as steel and able to absorb ballistic damage and limit its spread from the point of impact. For self-defense, the Osprey is outfitted with one weapon, a .30 machine gun mounted on the plane's loading ramp, which faces backwards. Plans are in the works to add a forward-facing, 3-barrel Gatling gun in the near future. The technical wizardry that makes the Osprey both a plane and a helicopter is contained in huge devices known as nacelles, pieces of equipment that sit like pods on the wings outside the plane and just behind the cockpit. The nacelles are what move the blades back and forth into different positions, up as a helicopter down as a plane.
As far as the nacelles themselves rolling up and down, there's a giant screw run by a hydraulic motor. Once again, electronically controlled from the cockpit. Wherever they request them, the screw turns and moves the nacelles up and down.
What is perhaps most stunning is that the pilot does it all with the touch of a button, a very tiny button, no bigger than a quarter, that moves the 7,000-pound nacelles that change the Osprey from a helicopter into a plane and back again. The button is known as a thumb wheel.
This 7,000+ pound nacelle with a 38-foot diameter rotor system is completely controlled by a thumb wheel. Your hand rests on the thrust control lever, just kind of like that, and your thumb naturally falls on a thumb wheel. It's an extraordinarily powerful control surface, all controlled via this tiny little button.
Kind of a standing joke that we have when guys, pilots are wrestling around, you know, we always protect our left thumb, because if that goes down, then, you know, then the pilot's hard down.
In the practiced hands of Marine Squadron VMM 263, the Osprey now stands poised for duty in the desert sands of Iraq. More than 20 years ago, in another desert not far away, the idea for the Osprey was born. In 1979, more than 3,000 extremist students in Iran seized the U.S. Embassy. Then President Jimmy Carter ordered a mission to rescue 66 hostages.
Planning for this rescue effort began shortly after our embassy was seized.
But the mission was a disaster, ending in aircraft crashing in southern Iran at a remote location codenamed Desert One.
To my deep regret, 8 of the crewmen of the 2 aircraft were killed.
That disaster led to demands to develop a new type of aircraft that could not only take off and land vertically, but also could carry combat troops and do so at speed. By 1982, a partnership of Bell Helicopter and Boeing had won a U.S. government contract. They had Ospreys on the drawing board and later in testing. The plane first took to the skies on March 19, 1989. But with costs quickly doubling, the Osprey ran into major political opposition. Worse than that, the Osprey also encountered a series of crashes. The first crash occurred in 1991, with all crew members miraculously escaping alive. In 1992, a second crash killed 9 on board, 4 Marines and 5 civilians. But the worst was yet to come. In another 8 years, there would be 2 more crashes, killing 23.